the museum's mother car. I'll be coming in the loop here now. I should ask, I got to remember to do this as we go through the parade. Do we have anyone in the audience who lives in either Biddeford, Saco, or Old Orchard Beach? Okay. Anybody staying in Biddeford, Saco, or Old Orchard? Okay, there we go. All right. You're an honorary person. You're about to see the trolley car that actually started this museum 71 years ago. And in fact, the trolley that launched the whole idea of railway preservation. This is car number 31 of the Biddeford and Saco Railroad. It was built back in 1900. And for the next 39 years, it hauled passengers on their line to Old Orchard Beach. And toward the end, the Biddeford and Saco had become a favorite of trolley enthusiasts like us. Sometimes groups would charter the trolleys to go and ride on them. And on July 5th, pay attention to the date, 1939, the Biddeford and Saco ran their last trolleys. They were smart enough to know that a July 4th holiday would mean heavy ridership on the trolleys. So they kept them going one more day before they introduced buses. And after the trolleys went out, a group of the trolley enthusiasts approached the Biddeford and Saco management with the idea of buying one of the old trolley cars. And that must have been thought of as a crazy idea at the time. But the management gave in and let that group of men buy this trolley car for $150, which is about what it was worth back then. They had to get it out of the town. They had to get it out of Biddeford and Saco, so it was moved to a plot of land, which now is about where our front entrance is. And there it sat in the weeds for a while. But it has been finally restored, and it looks as it did back in 1900. And several years ago, one of our anniversary celebrations, the Biddeford and Saco, which was still in business at that time as a bus company, paid us back the $150. And they presented it to us in a sack of 3,000 nickels. Because they were one of the last trolley lines to maintain a 5-cent fare. And they thought it only fair to pay us back that way. So ladies and gentlemen, from Biddeford, Saco, and Old Orchard Beach, Maine, our mother car, car number 31. It was not uncommon, by the way, in the day, where there was no air conditioning. People would get on a car like that with no particular destination in mind. You might just ride for a while to somewhere and back because the car made its own breeze as it went along. They were called breezers. Well, I didn't really intend to go in chronological order here, but here comes number 38. This is the museum's second car, which came on board in the early 40s. Number 38 is from Manchester, New Hampshire. It's environed and was built in 1906. This is an example, an early example of what in the railroad business we call an interurban. Cars that were meant to travel at fairly rapid speed between cities. Think of it as a Greyhound bus as opposed to a city bus that stopped frequently. Of course, rapid transit in those days would have been maybe 35, 40 miles an hour. It did 45. And when you look at it up close, you may think that it's somebody's special car. It's got green plush upholstery, beautiful woodwork, gold leafing in the ceiling. That's just how they made things back then. And this was one of our first major restoration projects in the 1960s before we had our modern restoration shop. And they did a pretty good job back then. And now it's been added to the collection, and it is our second car. So ladies and gentlemen, from Manchester, Nashua, and other towns in New Hampshire, let's say it's from Nashua. Here's car number 38. Now, this is a car that you may have already ridden on today, or you may ride on it a little bit later. And it's another one with a very, very efficient air conditioning system. car number 303 from New Haven, Connecticut. This car is 109 years old this year. It was originally built for a smaller trolley line that was absorbed into the much larger Connecticut company. And open cars like this were very common at the first half of the 20th century. But think about it, the Northeast. You can't use a car like this all year. You wouldn't want to ride on this thing in the winter. So trolley companies had to have two sets of cars. Open cars for the summertime, closed cars for the winter. That got to be expensive, okay? It'd be like you maintaining 2 or 4 automobiles to get you through a whole season. So these types of cars fell out of favor, except for these cars. The Connecticut company kept the whole fleet of them. They were kept in storage most of the year. They were brought out in the fall of the year, and they were used to carry football crowds from the New Haven Railroad Station to Yale Bowl for the college football games. Now, according to the manufacturer, we can seat 75 people on this car. But we have pictures of as many as 150 people jammed onto the running boards, sitting on top of each other, a few idiots even riding up on the roof of the car. It would come down literally with the center of the roof dipped because of the weight of the car. So a whole bunch of these were kept right through World War II doing that special job, and several of them came here to Seashore after they came out of service after World War II. And we're proud to have had this one totally restored, and it looks quite nice, and you'll have a chance to ride this later on this afternoon. From New Haven, Connecticut, car number 303. I forgot to ask, is anybody from Connecticut in the audience today?
I wrote those.
Oh, that's right. Okay, I introduced yourself before. Now, we operators are all volunteers, as some of you know, and we all have favorite cars. And a lot of us find this one to be a favorite. I'll tell you why in a moment. This is car number 5821 from the Boston Elevated, which handled trolley and transit service in and around Boston. This car has been out of service here at the Trolley Museum for almost 10 years and was just reintroduced into service a couple of weeks ago, so we're very excited to have it. This car was built in 1924, and it's what Boston called a Type 5. Boston had a very complicated identification system for their trolley cars. Type 1s, Type 2s, Type 3s, Type 4s, Type 5s, and on it goes. This car was designed for one job, to get people from one place to another. Inside, the upholstery is wood, hard wood. There's plenty of places people ride standing up. The light bulbs are just bare bulbs. There was no frills. This was basic transportation. And the Boston L had almost 500 of these cars built at one time. And it was very, very typical. Do we have any people that live in the suburbs of Boston, out around the city? Okay. You might board a car like this in a community like Malden or Medford, just north of Boston, and it would take you to one of the elevated terminals where you transfer to an elevated or subway car that we'll see later in the parade, and then it would turn around and go back. So this is how you got around in those days. So ladies and gentlemen, from Boston, Type 5, number 5821. And for any of our members who are present, the restoration shop, you go check out. The restoration shop estimates that we need about $1,000 more to actually release this car to public service. There's some wood rot and a few other things that are needed. So if any of our members might be thinking about contributions to the museum, 5821 could use an extra grand just to get it back into service. All right. Now, I want you to look over by the roadway over there. Now, we just saw